Happy 316 day. And if you're not down with that, I don't know what to tell you. But welcome to the Live in the Carne Asada. It's been a minute since we've done this, and it's presented by our partners at Bet Online. Bet Online remains your number one source for all of your college basketball betting this season. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at Bet Online. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at Bet Online. Updated odds for everything from live games, the conference championships, right on through to the Final Four in the championship game. BetOnline is your college basketball headquarters this season. If you head on over to their website today, which is betonline.ag, and either use your computer or your mobile device to sign up, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So please be sure to use our promo code, which is BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive that bonus. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. How many beers have you cracked open today, Juanito?
Well, first I want to start off and see, Alicia, do you know the significance of 316 Day?
I was going to get to that because I'm going to point out a comment that she made earlier on a friend of the show's Instagram. Because apparently I was today years old when I learned this. You can see people's comments that you follow on other people's. I didn't know that. I really didn't know that. No, I did not know that. I mean, I've told you guys before. I don't think social media is real, so why would I know that? But we'll get to that. But Juanito, in light of the holiday, how many cold ones have you? How many Steve Weisers have you opened?
Let's just say that every time I've entered a room, a glass has shattered. And actually, you know what beer I did have?
What's that?
I had Danny Trejo's Nectar of the Gods.
Isn't it good?
I do like his beer. I do like his beer.
I like beer. Yeah. I've liked beer. And I continue to like beer.
I think Alonso and I are the only ones who get a kick out of that.
Probably, yeah. I did open a El Segundo Brewery Steve Austin IPA, and it was fantastic.
That's what it is. Wrestling.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. But here's the thing, though. This is how I know that we're marks. Juan, let me tell you why.
Okay.
The ambassador, shout out to the homie Joe Beimel. He made a post about the holiday. 316 day. And guess who left a comment on said post?
La princesa de Picolandia?
La pochachola. So she knows what's going on. She's aware. We're marks.
She did it?
Yeah.
Is there an imposter?
The only Alicia del Valle that I know is her.
What did I say?
It was just an emoji. But nonetheless, you acknowledged the holiday.
Wow.
And there was one other one too. On Gabriel Iglesias' post, friend of the Carne Asada as well.
Oh, I did. I remember that one.
Yeah.
But did you guys see that the Dodgers now are selling merchandise that has Dodgers 316 on it?
I did not see that.
I saw the Houston ones yesterday.
It's all MLB. Yeah, it's all MLB because the Red Sox have one, but the Dodgers, I got the email and it says Dodgers 316 on it. So good for Stone Cold making that money, man. It's all about merchandising. In the words of Mel Brooks, merchandising.
As my wife calls him, Mr. Cold is having a great day today.
Can I ask from the business side, what is that? Why?
What is what?
So do you ever remember it's watching baseball games, especially in the 80s, it seemed like there was always a guy in the stands who would hold on a sign saying John 3:16?
Yes, I remember that.
So I forget what the actual Bible verse is, but Stone Cold...
He died for our sins so that we may live in... It's something like that.
Look at the Catholic. The Catholic never dies in La Princesa de Picolandia. Good for you.
I didn't have to go to Catholic school like her, though.
I butchered it.
So Stone Cold, when he became Stone Cold, the character, because at that point he was the ringmaster.
Yes,
he was in against Jake the Snake, and Jake the Snake had become a kind of born again, and his character was doing all religious stuff. So Stone Cold kicked his ass, and after he kicked his ass, basically said Stone Cold 316, and then it started because wait, I totally butchered that. He said something and then it said 316 because Jake the Snake was referencing.
He said something like Stone Cold just.
So he says, like that. He says, you sit there and thump your Bible and you say your prayers and it didn't get you anywhere. Talk about your Psalms, talk about John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass.
There you go. That's what it is. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. I understand that. But why is MLB latching on to this? Is new, no? Or has this been going on?
This is the first year I've seen them do that.
Thank you.
Because wrestling's cool.
Yeah, I obviously MLB's trying to skew younger and try to get a new audience, I think, which cracks me up because Stone Cold has stopped wrestling for how many years now?
Dude, it's been like 20 years.
But every 316, people come out with the Stone Cold stuff.
I think it's a better holiday than St. Patrick's Day.
Whoa. Why do you have to hate on something to love something? I don't get that in people. You can like both. Can't you like both?
That's right. You can like hate certain Dodger players and love them too at the same time.
At the same time.
We got a spit take. We got our first spit take, ladies and gentlemen. All right.
Hold on, Mark.
And a big thank you to Daniel, who's watching the live, for giving us the actual verse of John 3:16.
Yes, I just read the promo. If you don't know what a promo is, it's when the wrestlers say their things that pertain to wrestling. And that was the promo that Steve Austin dropped after the King of the Ring to Mr. Jake the Snake Roberts. By the way, we haven't done a live in a while.
Last year, I think.
Was it last year? So thank you to all of you that are joining. Thanks for stopping by. Always, we want you to chime in. Already a wardrobe change too from Alicia. That was quick too.
That's right. She really is all St. Patty's out.
Yeah. You know, the Irish are the Chicanos of Europe. So before you go around disparaging St. Patrick's Day, St. Patrick's Day, Cinco de Mayo. Like, this is actually, it's fun. And my mom looks Irish, and my parents got married on St. Patty's Day. And the history of Mexicans and the Irish goes way back. So there's a lot to love about the Irish, and the Irish do love a lot about the Mexicans.
I think that's the first time I've ever heard that the Irish are the Chicanos of Europe. So
that's the book of artist Lalo Alcaraz. So you could.
That was Lalo's line?
Yes.
Okay.
The Chicanos of Europe.
Also, guy that hates something with a passion. He hates In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah. Gustavo hates In-N-Out. Does Lalo also?
Wrong LA Times guy. My bad.
Gustavo's the one that hates.
But it is true though, because the Irish.
Rated. He doesn't hate them. I hate such a strong word, guys.
I mean,
I don't hate anybody, right?
Except somebody who plays in the outfield for the Dodgers, but whatever.
We'll get into that in a minute. But before we get into the Dodger stuff, the WBC has been a good time. I have been entertained. As the meme asks you from time to time, are you entertained? I have been. And Juan, you actually went to 2 games.
So I was there actually for 3 games.
Oh, for 3, okay.
Yeah.
What was el ambiente like for those of you that don't speak Spanish? That means environment. And how did you enjoy it?
Look, those games are awesome. So I showed up. So the first game I attended was Mexico versus Colombia, and that was a Mexico home game because it was like the Mexicans just took over. You saw Mexican flags all over downtown. And it was great. And afterwards, when they lost that game, which they shouldn't have lost, they had every opportunity to win that game. Walking around downtown Phoenix trying to get something to eat afterwards, there was a lot of sad Mexicans. But it was a good sized crowd. And it was a 12:30 start. Then Saturday night, I went to go see America versus Great Britain, and for toast and beans for all of you that are interested in that. And that game was a bigger crowd than the Mexico-Colombia game. So those games drew. And then Sunday night's America versus Mexico game, that game was sold out. Yeah. So what we're talking about is all over social media because of the injury to Edwin Diaz.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people crapping on the WBC. And here's the thing, okay? I get that there's detractors. I get that people have issues with how this tournament is set up. But if you look at Phoenix, if you looked in Miami, if you looked in Tokyo, there is obviously an appetite for these types of games because they wouldn't have drawn. I mean, for that Mexico United States game, it was over 40,000 fans
Sold out.
that they drew, right? So there is obviously an appetite for it. Go ahead, Alicia.
I was just going to add to that. I agree with you 100%, but the resale were also very high.
Yeah.
So there was a demand for it wasn't just sold out. And so for those naysayers and those all of a sudden wanting to poo-poo on the WBC, I would like to ask them why to their face.
When you say resale, like the secondary market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like StubHub or whatever?
I had to get my ticket through StubHub for the Mexico America game, and I was up on the roof, and I paid $80 to get into that game.
So cute.
So you were on the rafters. They let you.
Yeah,
I should have went. I'm so mad I didn't go.
But
it sounded and looked so fun on TV.
Yeah, it looked like a vibe.
Dude, the number of times that Mexicans broke out into song, they didn't even need. And by the way, I will say this: Chase Field's sound system needs improvement, and we should be very thankful for the Dodgers investing in a sound system because it makes a big difference. I was sitting next to a fan, and I looked at them, and I was like, "Is it me, or does their sound system suck?" And she's like, "No, their sound system sucks." So while they were playing music, it was great that the Mexicans just decided, hey, you know what? We're going to create our own music. So they started singing Cielito Lindo. They were, I mean, it is a party. It's a party atmosphere. Go ahead, Alicia.
What about when you all put on your phones with the lights, like it was and so I listened to the broadcast where I know we were texting one another, right? The Bleed Los, know, our group chat. There you go. And I was kind of, some of the things the announcers were saying, I was like, dude, this is because you have no context because you don't know the audience. And that's another reason, but we'll get into that another time. Hire more Latinos, right? So anyway, the some of the things they were like flabbergasted. Like what, like, have you ever seen people cheer so loud for an 11? Like, I'm just like, wow, like you guys really need to do your homework or hang around. I don't know. Let's not talk about them. The point is, it looked and sounded amazing. And some of the things I would have liked to have brought up, they were just ignoring or didn't understand and didn't talk about it. And I was like, like I was like, look at those. I mean, the guys behind home plate were hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, the ones that were doing the strikeout.
Yeah. And you could tell you could tell how much drunker they were getting as the game went along, because then they all got in sync even while they were drunk. So good on them.
Shoey. They were like.
I will even add this though, because as much as I said that it seemed like Chase Field was not prepared for what they got. I sent you guys the video in the group chat, the lines to get into the stadium. And now it could be because Chase Field has less entrances to the stadium, and I'm just used to Dodger Stadium where you can go in from whatever part of the stadium. But the lines were long to get in, and the food lines were ridiculous. So there were a lot of people that were pissed. What was hilarious was the Mexico merchandise sold out in seconds. I would go in there looking for merch, and they were like, "What do you want?" The guy literally said to me, he's like, "If you're looking for Mexico stuff, you're not going to get it." Like, they wiped it out. That's a
moneymaker. Now, why would there be people out there who can decide such things wanting to shut it down?
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, I want to get into that, Alicia, but I'm going to just leave you with this last one, okay? In the second game on Saturday, the America versus Great Britain, they ran out of beer in the fourth inning. And I heard a vendor as I'm walking across, because a guy asked for a Modelo, and the vendor literally said this, and he said it loud. He didn't whisper it. He said it loud. He was just like, "Yeah, we ran out. All the Mexicans drank the Modelo." And I was just like, bro, you're blaming the Mexicans for the fact that you guys were just not prepared. That's what to me is a little disappointing. And this is why I kind of put it at the feet of MLB, because it's like I think they underestimated the demand. Like the people like this tournament.
They do.
It's just other people are poo-pooing it.
Well, and listen, MLB's marketing people that are all over social media should know that there is a Mexican that copyrighted It's Modelo Time, fool. And that should have been enough right there for them to be prepared just for the intake of Modelo. So, I mean, I'm not surprised, though, if I'm completely honest. I'm not. I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. I'm not surprised. But before we get into the poo-pooing, Roger, what do you think of everything as of where it stands right now with the WBC up to this point? Sans Edwin Diaz injury. We'll talk about that separately.
I mean, I've enjoyed it. I mean, I've been kind of surprised at some of the teams that advanced. I mean, when we did our first show, and we were talking about who we thought was going to advance, we were saying Cuba had no chance. They had lost 2 games, and they're a game away from the finals now. So it's like, how did that happen? So, I mean, it's been surprising, right? I mean, the pool of death, D, right? Dominican doesn't come out of that pool.
And by the way, Babyface, you know you're in the lead, right? Because take a lap. You were the only one that picked the Italians. Because of that, you're in the lead.
By literally that.
The worst you could do is just tie. That is the worst that you could do.
A push?
Yeah. If America loses and Japan ends up winning it, then we all tie. But if America ends up pulling it off, you win this, dude. And it was because of your pick with the Italians.
Well, I mean, we all had Mexico and America coming out of Pool C, but we had them flipped, right?
Yeah.
We didn't expect what happened in the first game, the Colombia game. I mean, which they should have won, and then the second game would have been. It didn't really matter, but Mexico needed that game, right? So that flipped that whole pool.
The Dominicans being flat caught me by complete surprise, if I'm completely honest with you.
Do you think they were flat, dude? Or,
yes. Yeah.
Or did we just underestimate Venezuela?
No, I mean, listen, Venezuela is a conglomerate. They're like anyone that tells you, if anyone were to say to my face, just to take Alicia's words here, that Venezuela is not that good at baseball, I'm going to ask them to leave the room because that is the sport in Venezuela. Not you. I'm just saying, just to take to challenge someone. Dang, Alicia, why so punchy already, eh? We've been here for 15 minutes.
Mexicans and Irish like to do. I'm just
It's 3:16, man.
3:16
because
days.
Alicia said so.
The glass breaks.
Kombucha, by the way. It's not even beer.
Right. Kombucha. If you were listening, I did air quotes. Kombucha.
It's hard
there. See there. But I was completely surprised how flat the Dominicans were because that team is stacked. You look at that roster.
Yeah.
That's a deep roster. But also the pitching woes for the Americans. That is not something that I expected. And that's kind of been the culprit for the Americans kind of. But I mean, that offense should obviously be producing more, right? But the pitching for the Americans has been sus. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. The Cubans RKO'd everyone out of nowhere. I didn't see that coming. But granted, I also don't know half that team. So, I mean, the Cubans love baseball. So, I mean, anything is possible. But I'm not surprised by how good the Puerto Ricans are. Not at all. Right. Not surprised by how good the Japanese are. And here's the scary part about the Japanese. Those guys are jet lagged.
Yeah.
They haven't even played 100% yet. And they're just pedestrianly going out and doing what they're doing. That's why I'm terrified for the Mexicans to play them.
Well, it's supposed to be America and Japan in the finals. That was what Vegas was saying. And everyone, well, not everyone, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We talk about the Cuban player, well, the Mexicano now for Mexico.
Randy Arozarena?
Yes. Every time, like, even my nana was like cheering for him, loved him in his boots. Like, so cool. So happy.
As Polo calls them las botas de poder.
There you go.
Las botas de poder. That's a solid nickname.
And I want to give a shout out to friend of the Carne Asada, Rocks, for referring to every time Randy Rice Arena comes up that it is Randy Savage. He's been calling him Randy Savage all throughout the tournament. And yeah, man, the guy's been on fire. I'm so glad he picked the Mexicans over the Cubans to play in this tournament.
But bro, how this has been a coming out party for the Mexicans. Though.
But wait a minute, he didn't have a choice, did he?
No, he could have played for Cuba.
He could have played for Cuba.
Yeah, because the Cubans are also letting MLB players, I should say, air quotes, because Yoenis Cespedes is playing for him, but it's
also Luis Roberts.
Oh, Luis Roberts, yeah. But when I say air quotes, it's major league players. But he could have But I liked that. I don't remember the exact quote, but when someone asked him why he picked Mexico, he said, "No, that's my country. Those are my people. You know, they took me in, they took care of me, and I am Mexican." And I was like, you know what? Brought a tear to my eye. And then I played some Banda MS after that because I was proud.
Well, you know, his daughter was born in Mexico, and he's a Mexican citizen.
Yeah.
But look, I can't. I mean, what the guy was doing in the stands in between innings, signing autographs. I mean, he was doing. I mean, he was doing everything to grow the game.
Yeah. You know what he was doing fun? He was making baseball fun.
Exactly. And why are there so many? I don't know how many times. I don't know if you guys saw this on social media. How many people were like, how can we get Randy Rice-Arena on the Dodgers? Yeah. Like, did you guys see any? Like, all of a sudden, everybody wants Las Botas de Poder on the Dodgers. And it's like, bro, the Rays are never going to give that guy up.
No. That guy is, I mean, what? No, then again, the Rays also did trade Blake Snell. So I mean, anything is possible. But
if
I mean,
he was a Dodger, he'd be a humongous star.
Oh yeah. But I mean, he's only 28, and his breakout year was during that World Series, and I mean that's kind of when he made himself a name. But even then, man, I mean my man loves to have fun.
Speaking of fun, Juan, have you seen who entered the chat?
Yeah, I was about to say, did you hear the glass break a second ago?
Oh, yes, the glass just broke.
Yeah.
Philip Lopez 316 just walked into joining us on the chat, and of course, immediately has to be negative and bring us all down with the Diaz injury. So let's just get into it, man. I mean, everybody, social media was blowing up today on because of Diaz. We got to abolish the WBC.
Right. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? This is where it's about to get a little boring. By the way, Randy Arozarena, Scott Boras guy. I don't think he's ever going to be.
Yeah, he's never coming to the Dodgers. So.
Why do you got to ruin my night?
I'm sorry. Hey, drink. Yeah, there you go. Drink more of that. That'll help the vibe. Sports, professional sports, whether we like to admit it or not, is a business, right? And the owners, MLB in this particular instance, who hosts the tournament, they like to see a return on investment. And the return on investment's clearly there. So that's why I don't think that the tournament is ever going to go away. I don't even think the tournament's ever even going to go into the summer, if I'm honest, because I don't see for the life of me any owner in Major League Baseball saying, hey, come July for 2 weeks, we take your guys instead of doing the All-Star break. No chance. Zero chance.
Oh
especially if
are you saying no chance in hell?
No chance in hell. There you go. Thank you. Well done. A lot of wrestling puns tonight, and I'm here for it.
Raise your hands if you think the WBC is way more fun than the All-Star break.
Yeah.
That was awkward because I don't know.
Philip, are you raising your hand?
He's raising a hand with one finger on it, and it's Stefan Ramirez. But even then, I mean, I would agree with you that, I mean, okay, let me take a step back too. I didn't appreciate Max Scherzer's comments, and granted, I'm not a multi-year Major League guy, not at all, right? I'm not going to sit here and pretend. But to me, it's like if you know you're going to compete in that tournament, the WBC, ramp up your preparation and start when you're going to start, because they're not going to move the tournament just because some Major League guys say, hey, we want to do it this way. I thought that was kind of a slight to the tournament, because we also have to remember it isn't just one country that this is for. This is for the World Baseball Classic. Exactly. So that's the only thing I took exception to that Max said. But if there is money, they're going to keep doing the tournament.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but
no, you're good. I was actually go ahead.
You have to tell us what Max, because I don't know what he said. And I'm
here,
sure
let me pull up.
everybody does, and maybe when they're listening later, tell us what he said, please.
He said,
Let's get more reasons to hate Max Scherzer.
No, I'm just saying you're talking as if we all know what he said. So,
and you know what? That is my bad.
In journalism school, they taught us to talk to the audience as if they are third graders or sixth graders.
Look at her pulling out her journalism credentials. Excuse me. Pardon me all over the place.
My bad. I didn't go to journalism school.
I was shocked when I heard that. Did you hear what I said? Like, to treat us all.
That kombucha is strong.
Yeah,
man.
Hey, can you see the percentage on that? I just want to know. So he said that that the World Baseball Classic would benefit by moving to an in-season format, and it would be a real game. And so, he started with about himself. I'm not ready to step into a quasi-playoff game right now, and if I do that, I'm rolling the dice with my arm. And if the WBC was during the season, I think you would get more pitcher participation, and more importantly, I think it'd be more exciting for the fans because you'd actually have starters built up. You wouldn't have any guys on pitch counts or whatever it is, and you'd actually have the real guys going at it, and it would be a real game. So,
wow.
So here's my thing, right? I feel like even if these guys are on pitch counts, I feel like that we've actually seen these guys go.
Yeah.
And even though they're not built up per se, I think some of these guys are. But I mean, even again, just to use Shohei Ohtani as an example, he said he was playing at like 80% or something like that because he was jet lagged. What? This dude is how?
Did you see what he did last night?
Yeah, he hit 102.
102, the fastest he's ever thrown a pitch.
Yeah. And you're gonna sit here and tell me that this isn't guys in real game? I mean, even with what happened, the unfortunate thing that happened in Puerto Rico, right?
Yeah.
With Edwin Diaz going down, that's a part of the thing. Unfortunately, right? We talked about it in our group text. Do you mean to tell me that all these clubs that for the World Cup that pay their players more money than any of these baseball players make in a year, right? Like Leo Messi right now is making something like $500,000 a week. They play 36 weeks. That's a stupid amount of money. There's guys in the World Cup that tear their ACLs, that tear the patella tendons, all that stuff. They haven't canceled the tournament because they also know that's a part of the deal. And if you're trying to get eyes on the tournament, why would you do any of this? Is I feel like the most eyes that this tournament has had since its inaugural tournament, right?
Not just that, even bigger, it's the most eyes on baseball.
Yeah.
And do you not need? It's not. Do you want to grow the sport, MLB? You need to grow the sport, MLB.
You have to.
And this is a way. And instead of resisting and fighting it, like, why don't you figure out how to make it better?
Yeah.
Just
to support Alicia's statement right there, the Japan versus Korea game was watched by 63 million people.
Wow.
Just to give you a comparison, insane. The most watched World Series game ever was 54 million, and that was in 1980.
Okay.
Wow.
So again, the appetite for this is there. And, we had that comment from Max Scherzer. Did you guys see what Keith Olbermann posted on Twitter today?
I did not.
Olbermann was a little bit, I think, a perfect example of what we saw a lot. Babyface, do you have what the guy from Barstool, the guy that you say is my alter ego that I'm posting as that guy? Do you know? Can you recap what he said?
Basically, what's his name? KFC Barstool or something like that.
Yeah, that's your alter.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah, Babyface was saying that this is really you, isn't it?
So he's been tweeting, saying the WC is at fault and shouldn't be. So it's a meaningless tournament, and just going on about, that nobody cares about it, essentially, right?
Oh my God!
And like
at the cloud.
It makes no sense. Like, it's unfortunate what happened to Edwin Diaz, right? But he didn't even get hurt. He didn't even get hurt playing.
Oh, that's the irony.
That's the irony. Yes.
He was jumping up and down. Celebrating
because baseball's fun.
Exactly.
I mean, he could have got hurt walking down the steps to the dugout. Anything. We hear so many these weird injuries that happen. Guys hurting themselves, pulling up their pants. Like
Yeah.
that's one of those injuries.
Remember a couple years ago, I don't remember, was it Vladdy Guerrero Jr.? Someone in the Toronto Blue Jays organization sprained their AC joint sneezing.
Yes, but not only that, Tony Gonsolin hurt his ankle walking to the dugout.
Yeah, so crazier things have happened.
And so here's Keith Olbermann's tweet for those of you who are not aware of it. First Freddie Freeman, now Edwin Diaz. The WBC is a meaningless exhibition series designed to get you to buy another uniform. To hell with the real season. Split up teammates based on where their grandmothers got laid. Call it off now. Okay. Now, he took a lot of heat for that tweet.
As you should.
And there were, I mean, not only is it a sexist tweet, but I'm going to put this out here because I feel a lot of the tweets that were out there, and friend of the carne asada, Toribio, I'm very curious. Did you see his tweet? Did anybody see Toribio's tweet?
I retweeted it.
I did not see it. I did not see
So
it.
Toribio, and this is why we have him on the show. We love him because he doesn't hold back. But Toribio, if you can actually look that up, Babyface, what his actual tweet, I want to give him credit. But basically, Toribio was calling out all these people that were hating on the WBC and basically said, look, we all know what this is really about.
Yep.
Right? So my thing is this. It seems that there is a certain group of people that are calling out the WBC. And this is what it really feels like to me. When all these guys use the same words, do you have it, Alicia?
I do.
You want to go ahead and read it?
Sure. This spring, I covered an unfortunate torn ACL and a dude spraining his ankle walking off the field. Maybe we should also end spring games and PFPs. The WBC hate has never been about injury concerns. We know what it's really about.
So, of course, everybody's like, well, what are you trying to say? When all these guys, and look, I was down in spring training, and the guys that are covering MLB teams, there's a lot of guys that have that same sentiment, that think that this tournament is not legitimate. And they have those same feelings that Olbermann and that KFC Barstool have been saying. But when they use the word meaningless, this is how I interpret it, and I want to hear your guys' take on this. Mm-hmm. I feel like what they're saying is that baseball outside of the United States or baseball outside of MLB isn't real baseball.
Yep.
Okay? So it's okay for us to take the players from their other countries and have them play in the United States and MLB. And it's okay to force them to abandon their own country.
Yes.
But to me, this whole take of baseball outside of the United States or outside of MLB is illegitimate, I think is really fucked up. Because the Japanese Baseball League, KBO, the Mexican League, I don't know how many times we've had people on the show talk about how former ball players, when they go play winter ball in the Mexican League, have all said, hey man, those people really care and it's good baseball there. So to me, I don't want to sit there and pull out what everybody is saying, implying maybe racism.
Right.
I think it might be more this isolated mentality that I think is attributed to the United States, where anything that happens outside of the United States, we don't care about.
Let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead, Roger. Sorry.
I was saying, did you hear what Mike Trout said? Like, we've been hearing what other players say. Other players, foreign players, love it, right? They want to play for their country. It's the greatest thing ever, right? Yeah. Mike Trout, though, he said he's had the most fun in this WBC that he's had in his career. I mean,
that's because he plays for the Angels.
Which is great and sad for the Angels, right? Obviously, right? Yeah. But I mean, to hear Mike Trout say that, right?
Yeah.
And they're always pushing Mike Trout to be the face of baseball.
Yeah.
And the face of baseball is saying this is the most fun. I mean, you gotta really, I cannot agree with you more that it is bigger than just, Diaz getting injured. And we hope we should all say that we hope he gets healed up fast, and we're thinking about him, and this sucks. But this is really, really just, I think it's bigger. And no one wants to have this conversation. It's just easier to cancel it than
Yeah.
have
Well-
to have this conversation, you know?
Well,
We're
and for
being
starters,
woke. We're being woke, Alicia.
for starters, I'll take Mike
Steve
Trout's
Loney
opinion.
loved playing in the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
remember?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But I'll take Mike Trout's position on this any day of the week, right? Because if he is the Mickey Mantle of this era, then obviously he knows what the hell he's talking about.
amen, Mike Trout.
But if you listen, if you go around and you ask, so let's just take a vote, right? What is the most popular sport in the United States?
It's
NFL.
American football,
American football.
Football.
What is the most popular sport in Venezuela?
baseball.
What is the most popular sport in Mexico?
Baseball.
I
Football.
don't know. I still think it's football.
Right, but I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
What is the most popular sport in Puerto Rico?
baseball.
La
Baseball.
Dominicana.
Baseball.
Okay. So and where do the vast majority in this current league right now, where does the talent pool come from when you list the top 20 players in the league?
Yeah.
From those countries, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
wow.
So you can't and again, football is king. I mean, I work for a college football program, right? So I mean, I'm fully aware that where football sits on the stature of stuff. And I also work for a soccer team, and I know where they sit on the totem pole, if you will, of American sports. So if this is such a thing, right, then why would a Major League Baseball go out and risk these guys just because, right? Because they know what it comes down to, ROI, and they need to get eyes on the game, and it's working. It's working so much better than anything that Major League Baseball has done in season, aside from maybe the All-Star game.
You know what? And I want to give credit to Philip Lopez. He just brought up a comment right now in the chat about how this is the Olympics. And this is why I say this is more important than the Olympics.
100%.
Because of the fact that, baseball isn't played all the time in the Olympics. So this is really the only time that you can have an international tournament like this. And the fact that Major League Baseball calls their championship game the World Series is a misnomer. The World Baseball Classic is the real World Series.
Yeah.
That is the one that is international.
Y deja de eso. Matt Snyder, who writes for MLB, said so himself that Edwin Diaz's injury is obviously a terrible blow for his club team, the Mets. But the WBC rewards still outweigh the risks. Why? Because it's a world championship, right?
Yeah.
It's the bragging rights for, I mean, where was Keith Olbermann when the Americans won this last WBC? And where did that exceptionalism go?
Because they don't consider baseball outside of the United States to be legitimate. And that is fucked up because, look, the reason why football is king in this country is because the growth of baseball is outside the United States.
Yeah.
So this is why it drives me crazy that while Major League Baseball has created this tournament to help grow the game, they are their worst enemy because you have owners who are not invested in this because of what you were saying, Alonso, the return on this, right? I mean, the Tigers have already told Venezuela, you have to limit how much Miguel Cabrera can play.
Yeah.
And I mean, how does that, I mean, that sucks for Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's bitching and moaning about the pitching for the United States. They have no one to blame but the owners of Major League Baseball because they didn't allow their best pitchers to participate in this. And why? Because of money.
Kershaw.
They couldn't get an insurance policy for Kershaw's contract. And Kershaw was ready to go. He said so
Wanted
himself,
to
I'm
play.
ready. I'm
Wanted to-
ready. Let's go.
Babyface brought that up.
So a lot of people have been saying, so you can't have the tournament in November, right? I mean, there's other people saying have it in November, right? But then now you're going up against football, right? You're going up against basketball starting, right? I mean, I guess technically you could, but they're not going to do it because of the money reason.
No.
Yeah.
Pero deja de eso también. If you, let's just say you do the Max Scherzer thing, right? Where you, instead of, like Alicia said, instead of doing the All-Star break, let's do the WBC.
Yeah.
So then, they're going to collectively bargain for time off after that so they can ramp up again for the season. So then what's the point if you do it then or if you do it now? And also there really is no risk per se, in the sense of there's no more risk to playing a game in the WBC than there is to playing a spring training game, or there is even for simply going out and walking, or even going on a motorcycle ride.
If he wouldn't have gone to spring training, he'd be fine.
Yeah,
but even then, how do you know? How do you know? Yeah,
I mean, that's what KFC Barstool said.
But I mean, but again, and even then, for spring training games, people don't realize these guys are not paid until the season starts. So these guys are not being paid right now, right?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Finish.
But I was gonna say they're going to get paid whatever the governing body is going to pay the guys, because there's a minimum they got to pay them. So they're at least making that, right? But even at that, how would it be any different than someone pitching in a spring training game? That's the argument I don't understand.
No, you're absolutely right. And I want to bring up Philip Lopez again. Philip on fire. What is this, 316? Good job, Philip.
Class breaks.
Talking about like the Urías pitch count. Babyface brought this up earlier, and the fact is Kershaw going to hold this against the Dodgers when he renegotiates his contract at the end of the year. The Dodgers have basically told Benji Gill, we're going to give you a pitch. It might not be the 80, because in the next round in the quarterfinals, the pitch count goes up to 80.
Right.
But the Dodgers may tell Benji Gill, we only want Urías to go 70. I mean, you're already on thin ice, in my opinion, the Dodgers and Urías relationship.
Right.
You guys want to piss off Urías more when Mexico has a chance. And the one thing that I can't stress enough, and why this is important to people, because they bent over backwards during the broadcast to explain this about Great Britain, is Great Britain, those poor bastards who didn't even have enough money to get real uniforms, they're going to get money now for their baseball program because they finished fourth. And that's something that we can't underestimate. We're growing the sport. Like, who thought Australia was gonna go make it to the quarterfinals, right?
Not even just grow the game, grow it globally.
Exactly, which is what the NBA did, which is what the NFL is trying to do.
Well, but look at, okay, here's the perfect example. I remember hearing stories about this. When Yao Ming would go home, Yao Ming was like the fucking Beatles were in town. He couldn't go anywhere. And then you take a guy like Kobe to Asia, and it was the fucking Beatles, Led Zeppelin, The Who, and Pink Floyd all showed up to one place.
Statues all over Asia, Kobe.
Yeah.
And again, this is Kobe wasn't really even aware of it until he went over there, right? And then he goes and he's just like, bro, what? So why wouldn't you want that with baseball? Because I saw a stat that it was like 46% of the population in Japan was watching that game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's insane. That means I don't know I'll have to look up the number to see what the population in Japan is. There's a lot of people in Japan. There is a lot of people. And if you have more or less half of your country, we'll call it a third, because you also have people here, right? You have that many eyes on the game for a WBC game that these guys are saying is meaningless, right?
Yeah. Where
again, baseball is king in Japan. And the reason I left out Japan on purpose is that's a given. We know that. So for me, the argument of, this is meaningless, this dude wouldn't have gotten hurt if he went to spring training. How do you know that? Tony Gonsolin was walking off a mound.
Exactly. I before we segue to the Dodgers, I just want to leave you guys with this story. I don't know if you guys saw this or heard of this. When Ohtani hit a home run during the World Baseball Classic, the person who caught the ball passed the ball around the stadium. Did you heard this, Alicia?
Yeah.
And everybody got to take a picture with the ball, and then the ball went back to the same guy who caught it. Let me ask you this, because one of our listeners brought this up. Tom Sandoval, if you're listening out there, appreciate your support. He's like, do you think that would ever happen in America? Do you think that would have happened at Dodger Stadium?
No chance.
But the reason I tell that story is to illustrate the respect that Japan has for baseball. Go ahead, Alicia.
Well, I was just going to say, it might not happen throughout the entire outfield.
The section?
But I've seen it happen within, the people around. I mean, during the home run derby, I sat in the outfield for a couple of innings, and people were sharing the balls. Okay. So I got to give, I got to give love to the Cathedral of Baseball. However, that was way special what the Japanese fans did in the end with that home run. And I just don't know if it would make it if you spread it through the entire.
No, some pinches cholo out in the palenque would have taken off with it.
I want
By
to
the way,
but
there is 125 million people in Japan.
Yeah.
120, and if you have half of that country watching a stupid baseball game of some of these, Keith Olbermann, you hearing me, bro? Like, don't tell me it doesn't matter, because to those people, if you look at the videos that kids are sharing from Puerto Rico, from even the Dominican, don't tell me it doesn't matter, man. It matters. It matters, and I'm sorry it doesn't matter to you here, Keith. My bad. Moving on to the Dodgers. Speaking of one Tony Gonsolin, the poor guy. I feel so bad for him because he was literally walking off a mound and he twisted his ankle, and it sounds like he's broke down for a minute. So it sounds like he won't be ready for at least the first couple weeks of the season, right? You were there with Doc the other day in at Camelback, Juanito. What was he saying?
Yeah, he was not optimistic at all. He basically said they're taking it slow. They're not going to have a timetable. I know, Babyface, you said Gonsolin has a history of being a slow healer.
Yeah, remember last year too, the same thing when he got hurt? They said, a couple of weeks, should be fine. And it just dragged out a couple months, right? So kind of same thing happening here.
Yeah, so who knows where the status is there with Gonsolin, but what I find really interesting is Kershaw's start got delayed because they got rained out. So
right.
He pitched today. I keep hearing this, that now he's on schedule to pitch opening day. Is this really happening, guys? Is Kershaw really going to be the opening day starter? Are they really going to give the opening day start to Kershaw and not to Urías? I mean, doesn't Urías deserve to have that opening day start?
So here, I'm gonna be the devil's advocate. Okay. Let's just say this is Clayton Kershaw's final season.
Yeah.
And the team knows it, but not everybody else knows it. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm not. I'm just solely going off of what Clayton's pitching, right? In the sense of he's kind of hinted at stuff like that. He is, whether we like it or not, he is still the ace, even though he is not the ace, right? Urías is the ace. But as long as Kershaw's around, it's just like anything else, right? If LeBron is there, the ball still goes through LeBron, right? So you gotta hand the ball off to your horse, to your proven horse, and that's Clayton Kershaw. I don't see anything wrong with it because Urías is also going to be coming off a World Baseball Classic that may lead into, at this point, assuming they make it into March 20th, and then if they do the final March 21st, which, by the way, I didn't realize they were that close until just now.
Neither did I.
I know neither did I.
Because if they beat Puerto Rico, which is that's a tall ask, but I think it's doable. Then they got to beat Japan. Damn. So, but either way, that's
or the U.S. How would that be a Mexico-U.S. final?
I don't think the Americans are going to be there, so that's a moot point.
But that would be awesome.
You saw it was on Sunday. How would it be for a final?
Yeah. I think it's going to be Venezuela and either Japan or Mexico. That's my prediction. There ain't no stopping that Venezolano train right now.
Can I also add to that
Sure.
as a third generation Dodger fan? My dad, we love Urías, right? We love him. But there's also, baseball is very traditional.
Yeah.
Right? Look at the guys yelling at the cloud, right? Like, it's sometimes overly traditional, okay?
Yelling at the what?
The purists, okay? Everybody needs to calm down and think what's best for the game, what's best for our team, etc.
Right.
I could see why, and I'm not going to say in public whom I would rather see on opening day, but I could see why Kershaw would be the guy.
So can you tell me why you want to see Michael Grove on opening day?
He's been the guy on opening day for so many of us who have gone to opening day. It's a tradition. It's a family tradition. My parents, myself, my sister, and my daughter, we go to opening day, and we've seen Kershaw many of those days. So I get it. I see why. Now, does Urías deserve it? Yes, but that's a whole. You know what I mean? Like I see both sides.
No, and I see both sides too.
Journalist in me. I'm just kidding.
I see both sides too, but for me, the right decision is if this is Clayton Kershaw's last dance, here you go. Like for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm not worried. I don't think it's as controversial as Juan thinks it is. If I'm completely honest with you.
Well, no, I think Juan is coming from a place of what we've been talking about all night, which is, you know, what do we have to do to get put some respect on his name, right? Like put some respect on the baseball, the legacy that other countries have given to the success of MLB. And often it feels like MLB is not welcoming, even though they're making a whole lot of money off of fans and players who are outside of America. That's all I'm saying.
Basically, what Juan is saying is he doesn't want to see Julio make his first opening day start next year when he's pitching for the Padres.
And I can completely understand that. Bro,
wow, you really pissed her off, baby. No,
how strong is that kombucha?
Look, here's the thing, Alonso. In terms of the controversy of it, I get what you're saying in terms of giving it to Kershaw, but here's the problem. He's already broken the streak of most consecutive opening day starts for the Dodgers.
Right.
And they gave it to Buehler. They let Buehler pitch an opening day. Okay. So once they let Buehler do it, that to me, what you're saying is we're going to have our best pitcher pitch on opening day. Right. So based on that.
Wasn't Kershaw hurt that year though? Wasn't he hurt? Right.
If I'm not mistaken, he was hurt. That's why.
That's why. Yeah.
Was he?
If I'm not mistaken.
I'm kidding.
I like how Alicia just wants to start a fight.
Oh, man. What the hell was in that kombucha?
That's what I'm saying. How strong was that?
No,
I'm telling you, Bizarro Alicia has entered the building.
In holiday. I don't think we explained to everybody, if you're still hanging out with us, I am at Pala Casino. We are celebrating my parents' wedding anniversary. They got married many moons ago on St. Patrick's Day in Las Vegas. So we're not in Vegas. We are at a casino though. And I took time away from my family. They're down there, hopefully winning big money. Because I cannot let you guys talk about the WBC without me.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I didn't put the two and two together. She's celebrating 316 Day.
That's true.
That's why
it's because Alicia Del Valle said so.
Yeah, that's a promo right there.
All right.
Babyface, are you okay? Are you okay with Kershaw getting the opening day start?
I mean, I'm okay. I think it should be Julio, right? But like, I'm in that camp. Like, it's gonna be one of them. I mean, I'm fine with either one of them. But you know, I'd prefer to see Julio. But
for those of you listening on the audio version, Alicia just switched over to.
Julio?
I did drink one of those when we went to what was that bar we went to all together?
Distrito 14. By the way, check for those of you in LA, please check that place out. They're very good to the Bleed Lows podcast.
Yes.
They're also an LAFC bar.
They are.
So if you want to watch LAFC games, definitely so. But a big shout out. What was the owner's name again, Alicia?
This Saturday. Oh, Guillermo. Sorry. This Saturday is there will be oh, never mind. Oh no, we're live. Okay.
Yeah.
This Saturday.
What was it? Are you sure it was? You didn't have any other drinks
opened it yet.
Damn,
this Saturday is the official viewing party. The LAFC, the champions, will be in Seattle, and so you can watch it. That they are one of Distrito 14 is one of the official viewing party bars, pubs.
Yeah.
That Apple Plus has. They've given them their check mark that you can go there and watch it and support Latino-owned businesses. It's in Boyle Heights, right next door to Mariachi Plaza. So looking for somewhere to hang out on Saturday and watch LAFC.
And the food is fire. So stop by and that beer that if you're watching, that beer she was holding up is the LAFC beer. That's a strong one. So maybe don't start drinking that right now. Maybe once we go off air, you can start drinking it. I think it was like 8%. But anyway, Juan, I'm sorry, I have to disagree with you. I think if come the situation, I think it's going to be Kershaw on Kershaw Day.
Look, I'm worried. I mean, I'll live with it. It's the Dodgers, but I am worried about some of these little decision making because also at spring training, we asked Dave Roberts about the outfield situation. And Dave Roberts basically said it's still cloudy.
Yeah.
And it's like anybody, you ask all the beat writers down there, the outfield situation is not cloudy. It is very clear there is one dude out there who is outplaying everybody in the outfield.
Yeah.
And it's really a head scratcher because it seems like they're not ready to commit to him. And I get it. It's because he has options. But James Outman is on fire down there. And what is becoming a little concerning in today's game, Chris Taylor struck out another 2 times. I hear a lot from people down in spring training. They're concerned with Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, at least to my count, and I missed the last couple of days, so I don't know. He has 12 strikeouts in spring training. Last year, he hit 220-something. So my concern is this. Jason Hayward, I know everybody's like, we fixed Jason Hayward. He's going to be, he has cooled off in spring training. Trace Thompson, I mean, Babyface, you gave me the update on Trace Thompson. He's not doing too good, right?
His last, 6 at-bats in the WBC were strikeouts.
So this is my concern, is that James Outman is going to get sent down because he has options. And then at that point, I guess maybe you give a month, right, to these other guys in the outfield. Is that a more realistic solution, guys, in the sense, let's give these other guys a month, and if they're not producing, we can always bring Outman up in May?
So before I demand my point on the James Outman thing, I want to ask you guys real quick, since we didn't get to it. Who replaces Tony Gonsolin for the first couple weeks of the season?
Oh, I think it's Pepio.
Alicia? Not put the kombucha down.
No, my sister's texting me. She said hi. She goes, you didn't say hi to me. My sister was watching us.
Which one?
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Julie Jules. Hi, Jules.
Thanks for joining.
2080 says Outman has to be the guy, right? It's kind of obvious, but again.
Well, again, I'm going to come back to asking for my point. I'm going to, because I'm going to demand that. I think they're going to call up Michael Grove.
Okay. Babyface?
Pepio.
Can I tell you why I think they're going to call him Michael Grove, though? Not even to be like an outlier. Remember what Max Muncy said about the guy? That he looked like he could have been ready and throwing. I think and plus he has 2 options. So use the one option. And I mean, because at this point where the Dodgers are at, you got to find out what you got. And he's one of those guys. So James Outman, I think, will be on the big league roster. I think Dave is being coy. Like we've talked about it before with young kids, you don't want to get in their heads. So that's why I think he's doing that at sportsmanship. And I do think James is going to be on the roster. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer. But also, he gives them flexibility to go down if someone gets hot to make that work, right? So, but you also have to remember there's this guy named Miggy Vargas that can also play in the outfield. And they're going to try him out there from the looks that we gathered, apparently. But also that could have been a thing just because they didn't want him to swing. But they have the depth. But James Outman has to make the roster, in my opinion. There's no chance that he doesn't.
Well, in terms of Miguel Vargas, I want to give credit to the Princess of Picolandia because on our last episode, she went off on Mookie playing second base. And now all of a sudden, Dave Roberts has backtracked. And it doesn't look like Mookie's going to be playing 50 games at second base. It looks like Mookie's going to be playing maybe 10 or 20 games at second base. And I think it was specifically because of Bizarro Alicia's rant on Mookie playing second base. So I want to give you your point, Alicia. You deserve your point. The people are listening to you.
They heard you loud and clear.
You're welcome, Dodger fam. You're welcome. We got to do what's best for the team, not an individual superstar player.
But also, can I say, going back to Chris Taylor, I think no matter what, they're going to keep Chris Taylor in the lineup because of how many positions he can play. Because also you have, there is one small problem with that lineup. There is not really a shortstop per se every day. There is a Miguel Rojas, but it's not kind of what the 25-year-old Gavin Lux was supposed to be, right? So Chris Taylor will be filling in there as well. So, and we also saw that Michael Busch went down. So maybe your ratio of second baseman for Mookie Betts, it changes a little bit, Alicia.
What do you mean? I'm not saying. Why do you put my name on that? I want the Dodgers to just be okay. That's all.
Well, okay.
I'm
So
not singling out Mookie Betts. He's a superstar. Everybody loves Mookie. Mookie's perfect.
let me Alicia, let me you need to drink more kombucha more often.
That's right, huh?
As we start to wrap this guy up today, sitting here today, the June Shine, if we like
Can
free
you send me
kombucha
some of this June Shine?
Yeah,
Can you all I want all of you who are hanging out with us to tag, shout out. They're a San Diego company, and they should be sending me free June Shine. That's all I'm saying.
Let's get them as a sponsor, babyface.
please.
They're probably
immediately.
Padre fans.
Wow, and that's how you don't make money. That's exactly what you just threw the hat again. Alicia, I actually wanted to ask you something. So sitting here today, like right now, this second, what is your worry with the Los Angeles Dodgers today?
Well, my worry is that I can't say what my worry is because then they might not let me back in the stadium. I just want my Dodgers to want to win. I want them to want to win so badly the way we want them to win. Does that make sense? Because that Padres thing, we talked about this on one of our episodes. It really affected me. Like, you know, we give a lot of time and love and money, time and treasure to our Dodgers. And so moving forward, we talked about this as well. I think that the Dodgers will benefit from not having the target on them. Maybe it's better that everybody stops wagering on the Dodgers to take the West and to win it all. Maybe let's just try something different. I'm not mad that Friedman is pretty smart. He's good at his job. I like Dave Roberts, and go ahead, come after me. I don't care. And I just want the Dodgers to win it all. They have everything. Everything on paper should say that they should have won multiple. So maybe we'll try this now where they don't have, they didn't spend the most money and they don't have the most superstars. And let's see how it works out. It would be something different, right? It'd be a different approach.
Juan, same question to you.
Honestly, my biggest concern is going to be offensively. I think this team, I'm concerned that they're going to struggle to score runs. I mean, I know they say Freddie Freeman's hamstring issue is mild and he should be ready by opening day, but hamstrings always worry me because I don't think a hamstring thing is something that just goes away. So I'm curious if it's going to affect him early on in the season. But I'm concerned with the guys that we lost. If some of these guys at the top of the lineup get cold or they don't bounce back, how are we going to score runs? So that's my concern.
Babyface?
I'm not concerned. They got the second best record in spring training right now at 10-4. So this is going to be the same team. They're going to fire on all cylinders going through the season. They're going to surprise people. That's my pick.
I'm just curious, when did you start doing drugs?
No, I like that. That makes me feel better. That your positivity, rain it down on me. I love it.
Right. So that's why I'm asking when he started consuming illicit drugs, because normally it's the other way around.
I think this year they're gonna people aren't gonna be like, oh, the Dodgers, and they're just gonna go under the radar and do what they do, and that's win.
I like something that Alicia said, that they don't have a target on their back, right? Because here's the thing. So I said this the other day on ESPN 700. They asked me to talk about baseball. Most teams would be calling this a rebuild, right? The Dodgers are not calling this a rebuild, and it's far from that, right? Because now they're just figuring out what they have. And that's, again, we've talked about the embarrassment of riches. I agree with Juan. I am actually nervous about the offense because you've lost the guys that you've lost are really hard to replace, right? And there was a lot
of 100 RBIs with Trey Turner.
100 RBIs, and you have.
But he also makes on the defensive end gives up a couple runs too, as we saw last night. But
if I would gladly give up 2 runs for 100 RBIs, if I'm completely honest with you. But also, the stolen base element, you lose that, right?
Yeah.
Gets moving guys over. So and again, I mean, the subtraction by attrition or whatever should be, well, now that the shift is outlawed, there should be guys that are going to be able to poke through. So point is, the offense does worry me as far as going into it, because then if you have to depend on, Mookie, you have to depend on Freddie, and let's say you have to depend on Will Smith, right? Those are your 3 horses. The rest of the lineup is, I don't know, mediocre, if flat. I don't know what's the right word. That would worry me because, again, I mean, I'm not sitting here giving the Padres the division. I'm not. I still think the Dodgers are going to win the division, but the Padres are still an offensive conglomerate, right? So you have to bank with that and stay ahead of that, so that way you don't have to dig yourself out of a lead. So if there is I'm not worried about pitching with the Dodgers this year. This year, I trust Mark Pryor so much that when they signed Noah, I was like, sick, we're getting Thor back. Like that's all I thought. And so I'm not worried about pitching. I think Julio Urías is going to have a lights out year because it's a contract year. And I think Babyface is right. I do think he's going to be a Padre. I'm sorry. I don't think he's re-signing with the Dodgers.
Oh, Dan.
We didn't make
Alicia's
that a
computer is taking a beating tonight.
Can we make that a GIF?
Yeah, I know, right?
But also, I think ultimately what has to happen is the Miguel Rojas, Chris Taylor thing is probably not going to be the way the rest of the season, right? So they'll probably have to make a trade. So that we'll see how that pans out. And also, Philip, I'm sorry, I don't think Juan Soto's coming here either, bro. Sorry. I've already told Roger this, but congratulations to the Seattle Mariners for signing Shohei Ohtani, because that's the
Shohei's gonna look good in blue next year. Dodger blue.
Dodger
not Mariner blue.
Dodger blue. Come on now.
I mean, he's gonna be.
Alonso, who hurt you? You need to stop.
Well, you did when you threw that hat at me.
Oh, sorry.
She's like, oh, did that just happen?
Yeah.
She totally blacked out because of the kombucha.
She did. She just saw red and just
Okay, Philip Lopez says Padres are a paper ship. The real question is how the chemistry with the team is going to be.
They're that my biggest worry with the Padres, if I'm honest, is their pitching. Even with you, Darvish, it's going to be sus. But that bullpen is legit. That bullpen that the Padres have is for real.
And what did you tell me the other day, Babyface? Soto's looking good, isn't he?
I don't remember saying that.
Oh no, you don't. See, this is why people don't take us seriously, because you're not honest with the people. Just be honest with them. It's okay.
I would never say that.
There's nothing wrong with admitting that those guys on the show pods are good.
They're good.
I might have been talking about Mariano. I was looking at some old Reds highlights from back in the day. Mariano Soto was damn good.
Mariano Soto? You mean Mariano Duncan?
No, Soto. Mariano Soto.
Who's Mariano Soto?
Old pitcher for the Reds back in the 80s.
No, wasn't that Mario Soto?
No, Mariano, one of those two.
You don't even see you have. That's how I know you're doing drugs, because you can't even admit that. That's why I said, Philip. By the way, I want Alicia. I want 2 gifts of Alicia. One, her throwing the hat that last time, because it's just how dark the screen went, and then of one, her opening the can. Just
Yeah, she did a tribute. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, make sure you check out the YouTube so you can see Alicia's homage to Stone Cold. She just did an homage to
shout out to
Stone
Mr.
Cold,
Cole.
because today, if you haven't noticed, is 316.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line, because Alicia said so.
That's right.
So we were
Patty's Day ish.
Who makes that beer, by the way? It's a great beer. I had it when we were there, but I don't remember who makes it.
I like beer.
LAFC party beer, but I don't know who the actual brewer. Can you see the LAFC? The champion right there? The champion?
The champion. I am recused from that argument because of who my employers.
Gets their audience.
Weird.
I like beer.
But we're going to end this episode of 316 Day with Alicia obviously crushing a cold one, as she should. And I will drink, if we're plugging free stuff, I will continue to drink my Essentia water. Essentia.
Alkaline water.
The DMs are open. I would love a case of your water, maybe 10. But, beggars cannot be choosers.
Cheers
Some
to the
sponsors.
Yes. This episode was presented by Bet Online. If you head on over to betonline.ag today and use our promo code, which is BELIEVE, BLEAV, you will receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. This was fun. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and I think we need to give Alicia kombucha more often. That's the general the general consensus I've gathered here. But from your boys Alonso y Juan and the babyface gimmick in the Sky Roger and the Pochachola herself with the stash, if you're watching the video, Alicia del Valle, send her kombucha. Jump into the DMs and send her kombucha. This is the Bleed Los podcast, and we will catch you on the next one. Mexico by 3.
Nice.
Ooh, I like that.